Welcome to Bruce Hurwitz Presents Meet the Experts. I'm your host, Bruce Hurwitz of Hurwitz Strategic Staffing. You can find us on the web at hsstaffing.com. I hope you consider us for all your staffing, career counseling, and professional writing needs. I'm delighted to be joined today by Cathy Nesbitt. We're going to be discussing laughter for the health of it. Meet the Experts is sponsored by P&K CPAs. P&K is a full-service accounting firm. They provide accounting and consulting services to businesses ranging from startups to small and mid-cap companies to nonprofits, as well as high-net-worth individuals. Contact them today for a free consultation at info@pk-cpas.com or call them at 973-882-8810. They will be happy to be of service. Cathy, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bruce. I'm happy to be here.
Well, it's my pleasure. Please take a moment or two and introduce yourself to our viewers.
Well, I'm Cathy Nesbitt, tuning in from Canada, just north of Toronto. My working title is Cathy Crawly Laughing Bean Queen, simple solution for today's challenges. And I'm being called more than ever to do laughter. So laughter is what I'm focusing on at this time.
Well, I happen to be a believer that laughter is the second best medicine after sleep.
Oh, I was like, second best.
First, you got to sleep. If
Absolutely.
you've got a cold, you can laugh all you want, but if you don't get any sleep, you're not going to get better. And sometimes laughter isn't very good. For example, if you've had surgery, you do not want to laugh.
Right, you've had hernia surgery, yes.
And anybody listening or watching who has been through it knows exactly what I mean. But there are times when people laugh that are inappropriate, and it's a nervous reaction. Now, that's not the type of laughter you're talking about. So define for us what you mean by laughter.
So it's laughter yoga. It was started in 1995 by a medical doctor, Dr. Madan Kataria in India, and his goal is world peace. So it's not doing yoga and laughing, it's just laughing as an exercise. It's a cardiovascular workout. It's not jokes or comedy because those are cultural. You know, maybe if it's about two people, then it's not funny for those two people. Right? So it's just laughter as an exercise. So as the laughter teacher, I incorporate little games to encourage people to laugh. It's the body doesn't know the difference between real and simulated laughter. So we can kind of trick our brain. Our brain might be saying, wow, why are you laughing? There's no joke, there's no stimulus. You look ridiculous, stop laughing. Meanwhile, the body's saying, wow, I feel great. Pew, pew, pew. All the love drugs are being secreted and we're fully oxygenated. I think the main reason that we want to laugh or add laughter to our health regime is because our brain requires 25% more oxygen than the rest of our body as an operating principle. So when we're stressed, we're not breathing properly. So our body's not getting what it needs. For sure, our brain isn't. We don't need our thinker. And I'll use an example. Ever lost your keys, phone, glasses, and you got to go? You're like, I got an appointment. I got to leave. Where are my keys? We'll say keys. And you're flapping around. The longer you flap around in that state, you're not finding your keys because your brain is literally deprived of oxygen.
So why not, instead of laughing, just take a deep breath?
That's also beneficial. It's because you can absolutely take a deep breath. When we laugh, laughter forces us to breathe deep because when we're laughing, we're exhaling. Ha, 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 ha. You can't keep on ha-haing. You need to, at a certain point, take a nice deep breath in. And then that's what I say to people. If you lose something, unfortunately, I don't have that power to prevent you from losing something ever again. But I do have a tip. If you're flapping around and you're like, I'm doing it. Hopefully my little voice squeaks into your head and you remember, oh, stop, take a deep breath in, start laughing, ha, 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 ha. Because when we're laughing, our brain thinks we're happy. So even as soon as we start smiling, we can trick our brain into thinking we're happy.
Well, smiling is interesting because there's a trick that salespeople will tell you that when you are speaking on the phone, you should have a mirror in front of you. And if you smile into the mirror, it'll come across in your tone of voice.
Absolutely.
So I understand smiling. What I don't understand is how an insincere laugh can result in anything other than forcing your diaphragm to move and therefore causing oxygen to get into your head.
Yes. And the pharma, because when we're smiling, when we're laughing, even if it's just as an exercise, like ha 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 ha, we start secreting the happy chemicals. So even if it's put on, our body is responding with we become awash in the love drugs. Versus,
so your brain doesn't know if the laughter is sincere or fake.
Correct. Have you ever heard of visualization?
Of course.
Right, where the athletes will visualize themselves going over running the race. I tell
my clients to do that all the time before they're going in for a job interview.
Right. Yeah. So visualization, it hasn't happened yet, but our brain can imagine that it has happened. The laughter is the same thing. It's that our brain thinks that again, we must be happy because we're smiling, we're laughing, we're doing those activities that are happy things. So we can trick our brain into thinking that we're happy. And it is overriding. I heard recently, I mean, I don't know if this is exactly true, but that we use like 5% of our brain is conscious and 95 is subconscious. So we're being operated like we don't breathe. We don't think about breathing. We just breathe. The blood is flowing. The organs are pumping. Like what's driving all of that? That's just our subconscious is making that happen. So I think by laughing and by changing our state, we can actually get more accomplished. We can feel better. We can get into a much better state by employing laughter as an exercise.
I am reminded of an expression, have a good cry. Now, what's the difference between laughing and crying?
They're similar. They're very similar. It's interesting because when we're laughing, we're not crying. It's kind of a fine line. And, sometimes you mentioned it
between love and hate.
Right, exactly. You mentioned that early on, that sometimes people laugh in inappropriate times. Say a funeral, for example. Sometimes something happens at a funeral and it causes us to laugh and it's inappropriate. So we feel bad, but it's like that pressure cooker. The pressure is building up in our body and it has to go somewhere. So when we laugh, it's a release, and sometimes we can't put the genie back in. So it bubbles over and then it's contagious in a good way. So then it affects the other people. And it really does lighten the load. It lightens the load. So the difference, they're both releases. Laughing and crying are both forms of release. And we need a good cry. Last week, there was a global prayer movement put on by the founder of laughter yoga. There was 175 laughter professionals from around the world praying for peace in Israel. And it was so powerful. Of course, we weren't laughing full on, like as if we were having a party. It was very solemn. And at the end of that, I felt so heavy that I needed to go and cry in order to release, even though I just came from a laughter session. It was just really heavy. So both laughter and crying are essential. I think they're both cleansing, and they both are needed for us to be whole humans.
If I'm understanding you correctly, you're using laughter, excuse me, not as a, see, I was wrong. I told you at the beginning that if you have water, you don't need water.
Thankfully, you have it.
You do. If you are laughing, it's not for, it's just an exercise. It's no different than, except for what it does to your body, it would be like riding a bike, lifting weights, whatever. Laughter for you is an exercise.
Yes, it absolutely is. And you can laugh alone, but laughing in a club is so much easier, so much more fun, because in a laughter session, in a laughter yoga session, it's eye contact, little games. So we're playing together, there's clapping and chanting, and we're connecting. So it's way deeper than just riding a bike or just doing an exercise, because you're doing it as a collective. So we're raising the vibration. It's only energy. That's it. When you can't be sad and happy at the same moment. So when we're laughing, it brings us to the present. We're not thinking about something we did yesterday or that meeting or something we have coming up tomorrow. We're right here, right now. And in fact, we're not even thinking. When we're laughing full on, our knees get weak. It's not a very good survival mechanism for the early days when, when we went into stress before, our amygdala fired and it told us we're in imminent danger. Something's happening. Be aware. Today, when we go into stress, our amygdala has not evolved since prehistoric times. So when we go into stress, our body thinks we're in imminent danger. Back to losing your keys or missing the bus. It's a nuisance, but probably not life-threatening. Right? But our body acts as if. So then we're awash of those stress chemicals, cortisol, adrenaline. We're not breathing. All of the blood lymph, not all, but a lot of the blood lymph oxygen has left our brain and it goes into our muscles. So it really is getting control of our stress so then we can live a more peaceful, I would say more peaceful, productive life. Because when we're stressed, our brain is being deprived of oxygen. It's hard to come up with creative ideas.
You said something that's rather interesting, that when you're stressed, the blood leaves your brain and goes to your muscles. Is that why a mother can pick up a car if her baby is under the car?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Just, just some force comes in and takes over, like overrides the thinker.
Yeah.
Then we just go into our reptilian brain and we just react. And
Yeah.
Bruce, that's where a lot of people are operating from stress. We're living in a perpetual state of stress today. And so it's really hard for us to heal. I recently learned that 80 to 90% of our energy is spent on digestion. When we're stressed, we're not digesting. We have two nervous systems, parasympathetic and sympathetic. Sympathetic is the stress nervous system. So when we're in stress, we're not resting and digesting. And so, go ahead.
People stress eat.
Yes.
The every TV show, there's a breakup and it's usually a woman will sit down and go through a pint of ice cream. And so that's the reaction. So there is digestion.
Our body is not digesting. I mean, of course, it goes in and whatever, it comes out. But our body is not taking the nutrients that it needs from the food that we're taking in. Because our body is currently in the sympathetic system, which is the stress system. And so it's just trying to get us out of stress. The blood lymph oxygen.
Eating, all right. It's satisfying a physical need.
Yes.
So if it's ice cream, maybe it's the sugar.
Yes.
I don't know. Probably is, because everything I can think of that people eat when they're depressed, disappointed, angry, is full of sugar. Chocolate, ice cream, the basic food groups.
Yes.
So sugar, too much of anything is bad for you. Everything in moderation. What about laughter?
Yes, you can. Yes, thank you for that. It is possible to laugh at the end of a laughter session. you do a laughter meditation. If people are able, they're on the ground, otherwise they're seated in a circle. Sometimes people can laugh and you get to a point you're laughing, ha, 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 then it burbles down, then it maybe bubbles up again. Sometimes people get to a point and they call it stress laughing, where they're laughing so much they can't stop laughing. Now they've gone into a stress response. Now, so as the laughter professional, it's important to keep an eye on your group and know when somebody, then rather than saying, hey, stop laughing, we would just go, if we were in person, and just put our hand on their shoulder to let them know, okay, thank you, that's really good. We're going to move on. If you can just take a nice deep breath in, kind of just to bring them back. And an example of that, one of my colleagues was doing laughter at a school for teachers in September, before the school year began. And it's a pretty stressful time, I imagine, for teachers. And the principal was there. So the principal, they were doing the laughter meditation. The principal kept on laughing. And all the teachers, of course, know the principal's laugh. So every time the principal burst into laughter again, they all started laughing. And the principal could not stop laughing. And it was that stress response. It was such a release, but then it just kept on going. So my colleague went, like I said, just put her hand on her shoulder. Thank you. That's like, come on back. So yes, thank you.
Reminded me of something that happened years ago when I was in the hospital. This was the surgery, I don't know if it's called ward, section, whatever. And I thought it was a patient. It wasn't, it was a family member. And their family member had not died. The surgery had been successful. In fact, I knew the guy and he was very nice. And she was seated and laughing and could not stop laughing. And they had to give her a shot of something to calm her down. So laughter can also be a sign, as in the case of the principal, that maybe there's a problem here. If they can't control it.
Absolutely.
Like
yes.
a crying jag or a coughing jag or hiccuping.
Yes.
That the nerves, whatever, are out of control.
Absolutely.
Now, you wrote something that I laughed at. And I don't say this to embarrass. But my question on the application was, what will viewers learn? And you wrote how to manage stress with laughter, how to increase joy and energy. I think we've covered that in one way or another. But then you said you wrote how to convert food scraps and paper into finest fertilizer, indoor worms. Now, were we having a laughter episode there? I don't.
Well, that it's the 21st anniversary of my worm composting business. That's where I started, and laughter helped save my worm business, because I was kind of getting, it's worms in the house, so I'm encouraging worms in the house. And how that, like, just quickly how that came about, Bruce, is I'm in Canada. In 2002, our landfill closed. Pardon me?
I grew up in Canada.
Oh, right on. So Toronto's landfill closed in 2002. And although Canada's a pretty large country, we couldn't find a place to site a new landfill. And we started to export our garbage to Michigan, 1,000 trucks a week. And I had a solution, indoor composting with worms.
Seems logical. Yeah, I can live with that.
So that's why I wrote that, because I never know what people want to talk about when I apply for podcasts, if they want to talk about worms or laughter.
I had no idea what that meant, and I wasn't going to let you go without asking.
Thank you.
I'd like to get back to increasing joy and energy.
Okay.
Is that just as with any other exercise?
Well, yes, it is, because when we're laughing or when we're exercising, we feel great afterwards. Like, even if you're sitting on the sofa and you're like, oh, I'm so tired, I don't want to go for that walk. We know once we go for that walk around the block, oh, we do feel better, because we got to move. We are a very sedentary society, and we are meant to move. We have blood in our body. It moves with our heart. We have another fluid called lymphatic fluid, and lymph doesn't have a pump. It only moves when we move. And there's 3 times the amount of lymphatic fluid as blood. So when we're feeling tired and just we just want to curl up and go to bed, if it's the middle of the day, we probably need some exercise. Our lymph is pooling. Like, whenever we have like swollen ankles or swollen body parts, our lymph is not flowing properly. That's the lymph.
This is going to be grammatically incorrect, probably, but living a sedentary, if that's the word, lifestyle is supposedly the new smoking.
Right. Exactly. I believe that's true, because we got to move. And when we're not moving, our lymph doesn't move, and it doesn't have a pump, so it really needs to move. Yeah.
There's something else that helps. It always makes people feel better. Normal case, you're in bed a couple days with a cold, 3-4 days with the flu. You can barely get up and have chicken soup, whatever. And then you realize the fever's gone, you can breathe again, but you still feel miserable, and you get up and you take a shower.
Mm.
And when you get out of the shower, you feel refreshed, and you're ready to return to the living. What is the similarity between the feeling of cleanliness and, I guess, the internal feeling of cleanliness that you get when you laugh or when you have a good cry?
Thank you. Wow, great question. I think what came to me was flow. So when we're in the shower, the water's flowing over us and taking away the flu and just all the guck from not being well.
The scientific word is yuckiness.
Okay, yes, this is the yuckiness. So flows off our body. Same when we're laughing, we feel good. We're actually looking up. We're not looking down. And so it's the internal flow, everything flowing around. I think about the lymphatic fluid flowing around. So that would be the similarity to the water washing over us, the flow, and then the internal flow of like the fountain of energy that's flowing through our body.
Now, you are want to make sure I get this one, a multi-award-winning environmental innovator. That's what you wrote.
I know.
What award and what did you invent?
I have won, I think, around 20 awards for my worm business. So I was, last year I won Innovative Woman of the Year from a Universal Women Network in Alberta. I've won Entrepreneur of the Year through various chambers of commerce. I've won a whole variety of eco awards. I've diverted several tons from landfill personally. And every time I sell a pound of worms, my customers are always also diverting from landfill and converting this material into black gold so we can grow more nutrient-rich food without chemicals. So yes, thank you for asking about that. I think I'm doing great work. And it is nice to be recognized, because when you get recognition, more people are aware of it.
Well, it's important, and I tell my clients this, that they should include on their resumes anything that has been published, any speaking engagements, any awards they've received that are real. Because it shows that other people think that you're as good as you want a potential employer to believe you are.
Absolutely. And that's the challenge, Bruce. So you must encounter that with your clients, is like being bold, saying, here I am, I did this thing, and it's valuable. We have sometimes, and women have maybe a little bit more challenge than men sometimes in that area of writing down the things that we have done, the accomplishments that we've made.
We haven't found that. I'm always use the example of the male veteran who I interviewed for 2 hours as a career counseling client, and I knew he was keeping something from me. And when I prepare a resume, the top of the resume says selected accomplishments, because that's all an employer cares about. The rest is garbage. They want to know what you've actually done. Not what your responsibilities were. Your responsibility could be growing compost. So you put down, you grew compost, but it didn't amount to anything. All right. But you won awards from local chamber of commerce as an entrepreneur of the year for your compost business. That means you actually succeeded in doing something. And this veteran would not tell me at first what it is that he did. And finally, I got it out of him. And he hadn't been getting any interviews at all. And then we redid his resume. And the first bullet point was Silver Star, U.S. Marine Corps veteran, Silver Star recipient. You may not know this, but the Silver Star is the third on the hit parade of awards that soldiers, a member of the military, can receive. So this is a big deal. This is a real big deal. So I looked at him and I said, well, what did you get it for? Why did you receive it? And he said, Bruce, I'd love to tell you, but I'd have to kill you. And he was smiling, and I said, that's exactly how you answer it when they ask you. Next interview, he got, first off, his phone started ringing off the hook. And first interview, he got the job because he smiled when he said, I'd have to kill you. So they didn't think he was really going to kill him. Is there any, I mentioned the salesperson who smiles looking into the phone. Is smiling a mild form of laughter?
It's the beginning. It's the first part of a laughter. Yes. Smiling is the beginning. And so, I've had people come to my club that were really serious in their head, couldn't even understand, how can I laugh without a joke, all of those things. And I just invite them to put a smile on. If we can start with a smile, that's the beginning. And then we can go from there. Then we add a ha-ha. Then we add another ha ha ha.
That's interesting. What I was going to ask was, but you've already said it, is about culture, and that what can be funny for one person is I don't get it for another. I had friends from Britain, and they were watching some program, and I'm sitting there like a dummy. And I'm saying, what is so funny? What are you laughing at? And it's because it's their culture. It's not my culture. You remember the Canadian comedic duo? They were the first person who signed long-term contract on Ed Sullivan.
Martin.
No.
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 Who are they?
Not important. Not important.
Okay. Yes.
I would watch them even now on YouTube. And if a friend's over, this is funny. So culture. But we're running out of time. So what I want to do is I want to thank you. And before I let you go, I'm going to put your contact information up, and I have one final question for you. Is there anything that I did not ask which you wish I had asked? And if I had asked, what would you have said?
Yes, I would have liked to ask for you to ask if I have a free laughter club.
Do you
And I
have
would have,
a
I do have a free laughter club. It's online. It's on Tuesday mornings. So you just missed it today. 9:30 a.m., 30 minutes on Zoom, and all are welcome. It's a beautiful, I started in June 2020 because the world was too small, my little house. I had too much time to think and I needed to connect. And so I incorporate tapping, brain gym, and other healing modalities. My goal is to help people get out of stress and into joy.
Very nice. Well, Cathy, I thank you profusely. This has been very informative, educational, and entertaining. Couldn't have
Thank
asked.
you, Bruce. Thank you.
It is my pleasure. I'm Bruce Hurwitz. Thank you for watching. And as always, please stay focused on success.